Well, we want to say good evening to you, one and all, as we begin the process of our candidates forum for tonight. And so, what we're asking you to do, if you would just be so kind, as the platforms are coming up, and I see that we are beginning to roll. I just wanted to jump out here just about a minute early to give us an opportunity to be able to get on. We are on all three Facebook pages, and we are also on Union's YouTube page. So here's what I need you to do, and this is overwhelmingly important that you do this for me. Please share. Please share. Hit that share button. You want to let people know in no uncertain terms that we have a moment in history that is coming to pass. Hey, Carolyn, how are you? I can see you as you begin to get on here, but I need you to make sure that you do share. That is overwhelmingly important because we are at a crisis, we're at a crossroads, we're at a time in our lives where our vote has never counted more than what it does right now. This is overwhelmingly important, and I'm just going to say what needs to be said. If you sleep this one, if you act like, oh, my vote doesn't count, don't get upset with what takes place. But we're out here to fight for our democracy. We're here to fight for our vote. Carolyn, I see you. Carletta, Sharon, oh God, Daryl, bless you. Katrina, I see you as you guys are coming on. I won't be able to holler out your names in just a moment because we're going to get started. The one thing that we do is we start on time and we end on time. And so as you come on board, every one of you, I see you as you are doing that. Erica, bless you. Please share. Please share. Myrna, I need you to share. I need all of you to share. I need every one of you to share. Fancy, even in Atlanta, I need you to share. Need you to do that. That is overwhelmingly important. And so, Myrna, bless you for being here with us. And we want to make sure that we provide for you the most informative forum that we possibly can. And with that being said, I have a young lady who is getting ready to come on board with me, and she's going to give you the welcome, and then I'll be back as soon as Kim gets done.
Good evening. My name is Kim Moses, and I would like to welcome you to our candidate forum. To this evening, our prayer is that after you listen to the candidates and what they have to say, that you will be an informed voter as you go to the polls to vote early or to vote on November 8th, which is election day.
Thank you so much, Kim. And so again, I want to give you the rules of the day. Many of them have received it in an email, and I just want to. I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to reiterate them because I think that's important. The reason that we have come together is not for political assassination, but for information. We have come so that we can understand what their platforms are. We have come so that we can see what their vision and their objectives are, whether they are aspiring the first time for office or whether they are looking forward to entering into office. Again, LMA, Pastor Gillespie, thank you for being here. Thea, I see you. Cecile, thank you for being all the way from Texas. We are grateful to God for you being here. And so that's what this is all about. We want to hear what they have to say. We want to hear why they inspire. And so we're not here to talk about what somebody else isn't doing. We're not doing all of that. All of that is not necessary. We have everything that we do it in a timed fashion. What do I mean by that? Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening. Then they'll have a 6 minute question and answer period. And then they will have a 2 minute period of time in order for them to give their closing statements. And I do want you to know that I am the timekeeper. And so I am keeping track of time. And so we're asking that we would be conscientious of that in your explanations of what you would like to do. So again, Debbie, Linda, I see you. Make sure y'all hit that share button. We want to make sure that we get out to as many people as we possibly can as we continue to move forward. Just want to talk about a couple of things because Eric Ungaro is going to be the first person who is going to come on. But before I do that, I need us, and I gotta put this plea out here. We need people to go to the polls, especially on election day, and to be poll chaplains. So, pastors, I need you to inbox me and to do whatever's necessary. We want to make sure that others are not the only people at the polls. Don't miss what I said. Okay. We want to make sure that we know what integrity is as well. We want to make sure that they understand clearly that we've never cheated and we don't need to cheat. Okay. This is overwhelmingly important. I have lived through the civil rights movement. I have lived through the struggle, and it looks like it has started all over again. I didn't say anything about a political party. I didn't say anything about anything else. What I'm saying is, if we've been sleeping on the vote, we better wake up, and we better do like Jesus told Judas: whatever you do, we better do it quickly and we better do it well. Let me share also with you, because I think this is important. Sabrina, hit that share button, y'all. Lisa, I need y'all to do that. There are some people who did contact us to let us know that they would not be able to participate. Justice Kennedy said that, she has a prior engagement. She was not able to be with us. Congressman Johnson was also not able to attend. Ralph Meacham is running unopposed, but he emailed me. He said, I would love to do it, but it didn't make sense for him to do that. And then Craig Beit, Beight, contacted me, but was a little too late because we had already put all of these things together, because this is what we do. Now, let me share this with you so that you Jalala, stop. Let me share this with you so you can understand how we function. It is time to the moment. We do it in a way so that we give ample opportunity for people to share, but we don't give them tons of time to share, because we want to make sure we have 10 people who have committed to this moment, and we want to be able to give them the time that they need. So, with that being said, I'm going to move. Thank you, Lynette Brown. I appreciate that so much. I'm going to bring a young man on right now. We are all very familiar with him, and I'm not going to say a whole lot of stuff about him, because then they'll say I'm biased and all that other kind of stuff. But we have Eric Ungaro, who is here with us, and he's running for state representative of the 59th district. So, Eric, I know you've heard what's what, and now I'm moving out of the way so you can say what you need to say, and then I'll be back with some questions for you.
You got it, Pastor. Hey, I'm very grateful to be here. I thank you, and I'm humbled. My name is Eric Ungaro. I was born on the north side of Youngstown. Married a north side girl. I have two daughters. One's a nurse. One is a beautician. I started my coaching and teaching career in Youngstown City. I was at South. They closed. I went to Wilson. I was teaching some of the behaviorally challenged youth, coach football there. Then after that, I ended up going to Highland, where Coach Angle, he had me at Ursuline. I went there and I continued to teach special needs kids. In 2011, I was elected a Poland Township trustee. I'm still officially a trustee there as of date. During that same time, I lost a brother to an overdose in 2012. My family, we took a personal mission to go out there and try to help all families, all races, all colors, all socioeconomic. Didn't matter if you were indigent or a millionaire. We wanted to help break down that stigma of the whole addiction process. So I've been involved on the mental health board for years. Helped Maurice Claret establish the red zone down there. Did the best I could for him. And we've just been a family that's always involved. And I think our motto, especially in the city, and obviously the message is the message, but we kind of are going off what is proven and not what is promised. And I was grateful to get the Youngstown Warren Black Caucus endorsement unanimously. It's one of the few endorsements I was actually allowed to speak at. We got the Vindicator endorsement unanimously. And what the Black Caucus said probably meant the most to me, that I just didn't start like caring about inner city kids or race relations. Even when I ran for this seat 4 years ago, when, my man Locke Beecham, God rest his soul, was one of the few minorities in that district. I was here speaking. Pastor knows it. I took that Youngstown Warren Black Caucus endorsement, and I was proud of it. And that was out in southern Mahoney County, Poland. And that's just who we are. That's what our family is. And I'm just grateful to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us, and we're grateful. Got a couple of questions for you. Okay?
Got it.
The first question is, here it is. Why do you want to represent the 59th district?
Oh, I think this is, well, I think number one is being coming from a family that has actually served. And again, it's not financially, like the boards that I'm on and the interactions that I have being on a Western Reserve Joint Fire District or the Red Zone Board or mental health. I'm not getting paid for that. I just always emulated the fact of helping kids, helping people. And when I ran for this district last time, I just thought that I represent enough people where I could bring down just their ideas to the State House. Forget like, oh, the borders, forget, all these little buzzwords that all these people try to use. It's still about representing people. And then, you know what? I had a bad taste in my mouth because both parties kind of beat me up last time. We lost by only a couple hundred votes, not even 0.75%. And once the city came in there, I said to myself, you know what? There's very few people that actually have true respect and interaction in the inner cities that has been representing a suburban community for the last 12 years and has worked with all the southern area Mahoney County trustees. I was unanimously voted as the Ohio 1 representative to go down to the state of Ohio to represent the opioid crisis and epidemic. So I just believe that I have something to offer. And if that's not God's will for me, then so be it.
All right. Thank you, sir. Let me ask this question. What specifically would you do for the citizens in the 59th Ward?
Oh, I think number one is, and maybe it's my personal passion to be that voice for mental health and addiction. There's no doubt about it. And it all ties into with the state of public education. When you got one guidance counselor for 400 kids, you got kids that are transient, that are getting bumped around from aunts and uncles and going in those places. You need somebody down there who understands it, because most people in the State House, they haven't been into a school since they graduated high school. I wouldn't wish somebody's sibling dying and overdosing and being on the front page of the Vindicator. But you know what? When that happened to us, you feel it. You care about it. And so I think number one would be mental health addiction, the state of public education, the funding that goes on there. Obviously, what went on in Youngstown was terrible, and hopefully that doesn't happen again as far as a takeover. And I think the economic development part of it is good because, obviously a lot of the money will go to the city. My dad back in the day, God bless his soul, he worked with Voinovich. He worked with the Republican governor to bring the Voinovich Center downtown, to get Federal Street back on its feet. To bring Valorex and North Star Steel. So I'm not ashamed to work with anybody. And I think that's just what I would definitely try to do. And obviously just the whole uniting of the community.
Fantastic. I have a question that I want to ask you, and I'll probably ask this of everybody. Okay. What motivates you to serve? I think number one, definitely starting coaching seeing my father, how he worked in the inner city and took on situations that were challenging. Let's make no mistake about it. He was my hero. When I saw him become mayor and there was two minorities working in the city, and he broke those barriers down. When you talk about bringing, Miss Pincham on, those weren't popular, and we started emulating that later in life when my brother overdosed, just taking on issues that were harder. So just serving people and helping them. And I never got anything monetarily out of any of this. We just, I would have to say I'd have to give him the number one respect. And we've always been a family that has taken on things that are challenging, even in Poland now. We took on a challenging issue with consolidating our 911. So our residents can make one phone call and it's not going to be, oh, wait, hold on, we got to transfer you. Lives are precious, regardless of where you live and which money you got, what color you are. And those are just the things that I feel in my heart. And I don't know if it's going to work out. It almost worked out last time, but my dad was dying and we lost by a couple hundred votes. And, maybe it was just fate because I was able to spend time with him. So one more question. And that is, what qualifies you to hold this position?
Oh, I think this is really where we can separate ourselves from the pack. Number one, I've been an elected trustee out in a suburban area for 12 years. So I've had to work with all these trustees in southern Mahoney County, being involved with huge budgets on the Mental Health and Recovery Board, for the last 12 years, being a crisis intervention speaker for all the policemen in Mahoning and even really Trumbull County, doing all those things out there. Being on the boards of like the Red Zone, it's just you get that feel for that, just everybody in the community, understanding them, caring about them, actually feeling for them. So I would just say my experience and my proven record, and that is definitely kind of our motto going forward. And I even was talking to Mr. Jenkins, is, go off what's proven and not just what's promised. And the Young Girls have always been there to shine our city and our area in a positive light. We had to take on some challenging issues just to get on the ballot. And I'm not rich. My wife's a teacher. We put all our chips in. If we didn't believe in serving, I would not have wasted our time and our resources and my friends' resources to actually go about doing this. So
appreciate that. Give me your closing statement.
I'm just grateful. I mean, really, I am. I'm thankful that we're here. Number one, that we're able to get on the ballot. And we've been grinding. I've been at the churches, so this isn't made up. I was down at your church. I'm not just here talking stuff about what I think I'm going to do or who I want to represent. I'm going to be at Cheney Thursday feeding them. But I've done that for years. So I'm not going to stop being who I am. This isn't going to define me. It's not going to define the Young Girls. But, hey, we're going down swinging, Pastor.
I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule and to share your heart and your vision for the district that you aspire to serve. And for that, we are grateful to God. And our prayers are with you and your family as you continue to move forward. And let's see what the Lord does. All right.
That's it. Hey, thank you.
Take care now.
Bye, Gelada.
All right. I'm getting ready to bring this other young lady on board, and she is going to deal with the next person that's coming up here in just a second, in the person of Carol Rigetti, and I'm moving out the way. And Kim, we are in your hand.
All right, Pastor. Hi, Carol.
Hello, Kim. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Could you, first of all, as the current county commissioner, could you tell us what the responsibility of the county commissioner is?
County commissioner's responsibility is fiscal responsibility, safety services, economic development, community services. I deal with special needs and infrastructure, dealing with the general fund departments, which is like the planning commission or the green team, things that are all part of the commissioner's office. Dealing with just everyday activities of the county. We're in charge of basically all the structures that are owned by Mahoning County. At this time, we're just looking at what we want to do with some of these structures that we own, these buildings. We repurposed one of our buildings at Masco, was a Masco facility. And of course, the state came in and closed some of our schools for developmental disabilities and kind of changed the structure a little bit. So we repurposed that for the green team. We deal with anything that's in Mahoning County that deals with portions of government. Fiscal response, sanitary is part of ours. Making sure that through the sanitary department that the sewer district is in good shape financially, which it is. It has a stabilization fund, and just making sure that all the services, whether it be a JFS or the veterans or other departments, the Board of Elections, things that are part of the county work within the guidelines of the law.
Okay. Before I ask you the next question, let me give you the opportunity to give your opening statement.
Oh, that
I kind of flipped it. I'm sorry. As you
well,
were
that's all right. No, okay. That's no problem, Kim.
Okay.
My desire is always strong to serve Mahoning County. My passion is government, and of course, you know that I've been in this job since 2011. I've served Mahoning County residents, whether they're in Youngstown or Campbell or Struthers or Sebring, with everything I have. I go to work every day, and if people need me, I am there for them. I try to be with all the departments and listen to our residents when they call and they have issues, try to help them through those issues. Work with the financial responsibility of working with my two colleagues, Anthony Trafficani as well as Dave Ditzler. I'm proud to have a team that works very good together for the residents of Mahoning County. I mean, we have a bond rating that's AA minus. Never has had a bond rating like that ever in the county. Safety services, I've worked very closely with Jerry Green with the safety services and putting the justice fund in compliance, and also getting that passed through the tax. But that takes in not only the sheriff's department, it takes in 911, which is a form of regionalization, which we are starting to do. And you heard Mr. Ongaro state some of that about Poland. The coroner's office working to help fund that as well. So that's all part of the justice fund. Okay. And even with like Pat Giannetti with the road tax that we passed, that we help him put on for the roads. My passion there was to make sure that Youngstown, because I live here, was covered. What part of that would be Youngstown? And we are in charge. Well, Pat is in charge of all the bridges and all the structures of the bridges. So that's something that we're looking at to get done. We did studies on that with Pat Giannetti, and that's going to be done. That's only a 5-year. That tax is on for 5 years, and it's off.
Okay. Okay. So another question that we have are, if reelected, what would be your plans to make the county a better place to live and work, and especially the inner city portion of the county? I know you mentioned roads and things like that, but can you give us a little bit more detail as far as the inner city is concerned? Because sometimes the inner city feels neglected.
Well, I live in the city. So I live in the 4th Ward. So I know what you're saying. I was a councilwoman before I was here. I think what we need to look at is we have partnerships with the city. We have given money to through the ARP funds with MyCap, working with MyCap and working with Action with the truck, the food truck, with Rose Carter. Giving $150,000 so that we could buy vouchers for the food, not only for the county people, but to work with the city. We gave money to help with the food with Father Brits on Market Street. I think we need to start having these partnerships with the city, because we're without the city, so goes the city, so goes the county. It's all one joint thing. And we have to see that. We have to work together. I think we're seeing more of that now. I think we have more relationships with the council and the mayor, working with the federal place, trying to work through all of the construction downtown, see how we could partner up in different things that we could use as being a part of with the ARP funds, with the disabilities and the senior citizens. I mean, these are all things we need to start working together on. We're not separate. No one should be separate. We all become one unit. We have to work together, all of us. The big thing I'm really proud of is we helped with the funding for the Canfield Fair with the bathrooms. You say, what's that got to do with the city? Well, what I said when we awarded that money to that board, I said, here's what I want to have done. This board has got to promise me and the rest of my two colleagues that you will have all the city schools, you'll pick schools from every school district, including Youngstown, and bring them all to Canfield Fair with OSU Extension. And let's all work together and learn from each other. That's what's important. And I have to say another thing. when Lois Haynes Page was part of Chofin, she used to call me up. It was a good friend of mine, say, will you help me with our kids? What do you need? Could you bring them into the county and let them mentor with you? I says, yes. How many will you give me? They gave me 3 students at 3 different times, and she brought them in to us, and we shared them. I had one that would be with me for a week, and then someone else, Audrey Tillis, had one, and I think I sent one down to Jimmy Fortunato with purchasing. Let them see what the other side of let them see what government's all about. It's so sickening to hear how they beat us up all the time, but let them come in and let the kids start learning that this is a way to go. These are jobs that you could have down the road. Get your education, learn. If you need help, call us. We're there. You know, and that program worked out well. And you know what, Kim? We had 3 other students from the county schools, and we had them all together. We were doing the census. They were all together. And I know I'm taking up too much.
I know, and I hate to interrupt you because all that information is very important. However, we're trying to stay on time. So can I ask you to, and thank you for that information, but could you please give us your closing statement?
All right. I believe I serve the people of Mahoney County with my heart and soul. Yes, I've been here since 2011. My experience is what's needed. My experience, my dedication, my passion for this position. I love to work with the people, and I work with every department in Mahoney County. I give them 100% of who I am. And YDC is the best example of that. Youngstown Developmental Center, the campus of care. I mean, I could go on forever with some of the things that are just a passion that I have. But I do want to serve. I do need your support. This is a very contentious election cycle. I've never seen it like this in my life. It's just too much propaganda, not enough of truths. And that's everything nowadays.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for participating in our forum.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Pastor Harrison.
All right. You take care and stay safe, okay?
You as well. Pray for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Well, I have another young lady who is going to come on in just a second. I see that she's here. She's aspiring to be the governor of Ohio in the person of Nan Whaley. And so I'm going to ask her to unmute and then to come on with us. Let me see if I can get her up here. And so what I need her to do is to unmute so that we can hear your opening statement. Okay, let me text them and tell them they need to unmute. And then that way we can go from there. And I know these judges have ridiculously hectic schedules. And so I don't want to waste too much time. If it's going to take a little while, then I will go ahead and move on to the next candidate and then come back to them. So I'm texting them right now to make sure that they know that they are live and in color. And all they need to do is when she comes is to just unmute, and then we can go from there. So I would sing, but that's not what this is about. I don't do anything else, and I'm not going to preach. So I'm going to do this because the clock is ticking, and I want to make sure that we do this the right way. That's one thing. No, I'm not singing. But I want to let me say this while I'm texting her. Again, for those of you who have just come on, please share, please share, please share. Hit that share button. Gelada, I'm not singing. Hit that share button. That is overwhelmingly important so that we can get this information out, because you need to know without a shadow of a doubt that our never would have made it. I knew somebody was going to say that. Um, and so I want to make sure y'all making it real hard because I'm laughing while I'm texting these people, so that they can understand that I need them to come on, and let's move on from there. Never would have made it. I won't have no time at the end, so I'm definitely not going to do that right now. Okay. So I'm going to give it another 30 seconds, and then I'm going to move on to the next candidate because I know that things are crazy and busy for them. But I also want to be a good steward of your time and your availability. I believe they're on the road, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's the reason why you only will hear her, but you won't be able to see her. Okay. So again, as soon as this goes through, we will be able to make a determination as to whether we will proceed to someone else and just wait. Because again, I don't want, okay, I'm getting ready to do this. I know she's supposed to be on at 6:30 and it is now 6:30. So I'm going to move on to the next person, and then we will go from there. Yes, they are. The judges are on a justice tour. And so I'm going to move to the next person, and I'm going to bring Kim back. And then I'm going to bring another young man that I've known for a long time, and he's going to share with us. And Kim will be asking the question. So, Kim, we're in your hands.
Hello, Mr. Hagan. Could you please start out by giving us your opening statement? You need to unmute, please. Mr. Hagan, please unmute. There you go.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Pastor Harrison. I never figured I'd be running for this office again, but there's a battle raging for the future of our state, the soul of our nation, and the very existence of democracy. And I could not in good conscience sit on the sidelines when so much is at stake. From my first day in the Ohio House in 1987, I fought to improve the lives of working and middle-class families. I'm running to continue that fight. I'm running to protect our civil rights, equal rights, the Bill of Rights, and the rights of every Ohioan to get their piece of the American dream. I'm running to defend our democracy and to protect every vote. I'm running to address our shameful infant mortality rate by improving our healthcare delivery system. I'm running to force the state to live up to its promise to provide every Ohioan with a world-class education that will prepare them to achieve, succeed, and reach their full potential. And I'm running to repeal the tax cuts for the wealthy that are robbing local leaders of the resources they need to make and keep our neighborhoods and families safe. I'm running because I believe I have the experience to do all those things that I just mentioned. But more importantly, I'm running because I think we have a responsibility to make sure that we participate in this democracy. It's very important that all of us understand our responsibility in running, voting, and participating. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. You kind of touched on the questions that were presented to us to ask you. So I'm going to ask the question and then you can just elaborate a little more. So
Sure.
the first question was, since you served previously and you served until your term limits were over, why should you be reelected back to the state senate? And what do you think you can do differently now that you weren't able to do before?
Well, I obviously have the experience that I've gathered in the 28 years as a state legislator. I think it's important that all of us participate, as I just mentioned. But I think that going back into the legislature, when I believe there's a lot of extremism in the way that they Republicans have ignored the Supreme Court and redistricting 5 different times. The extremism of when reproductive rights for women are being challenged. I think that it's important that those of us that believe in this democracy understand that it has to be challenged. And I think that I clearly understand what the challenge is, how the office works, and what my responsibilities are. The bottom line is that I'm running because I believe strongly that we have to participate in the process and confront those that think that extremism is the way that our state should be run. It's just wrong, Kim.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, would you support bringing back the no income limitations to the guidelines for the Homestead Act?
Yes, I would. And I think that the importance of making sure that, what has happened in the state of Ohio is everyone wants to, not everyone, the Republicans that are, and a supermajority want to give the tax breaks to the big corporations. Those big corporations have just pretty much thumbed their nose at working and middle-class families and the poor. Those individuals that really need the help are people like in areas like Mahoning County, in Carroll County, and Columbiana County, where the poverty level is unbelievable compared to some other parts of the state. We have to start taking care of our kids. When you talk about the homestead exemption, you're talking really about making sure that we're funding the school systems the right way. We're making sure that we're funding the state government. At this particular time, it's all been about corporate Ohio, and that's not working for us.
Okay, thank you for that. Our last question it's kind of touching on what you've been saying, so you can elaborate a little more on what you plan to do for the citizens of Ohio as a whole, if elected back into office.
Well, the first thing to do, if elected, is to make sure that the Republicans know that those of us in the Mahoning Valley are people that want to be heard, that our issues are very important. The poverty levels for some of our children mirror third world countries. The issues that we're really struggling with, paying for grocery items, that because I believe many people don't understand, it's a gouging going on. And it's not just inflation, it's all about the profits and the profiteering. I need to speak up for the kids that need the education. As I said, a world-class education. For some reason, we've been privatizing our school system. In charter schools, there's 43 charter schools in the state of Ohio. Those have to be dealt with so that we can go back to doing what the Constitution says, to give every child a fair and adequate education.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. Could you please give us your closing statement?
Before you do that, Kim, I got one question for Bob that I want to ask him, and then you can jump in his closing statement, okay? What motivates you to serve?
What motivates me to serve is the fact that my father and mother were involved in the civil rights and the equal rights. They fought. I have 13 brothers and sisters. We sat around the tables all the time and talked about what we could do to make lives better in our community. My mother worked actively in the civil rights movement. They inspired all of us. They inspired us to be involved, to take action, to make sure that we participated in the democracy, participated in our society. My father and I were the only father and son to ever serve together in the Ohio legislature. He told me exactly what our responsibility is. It reminded me what our responsibility was in serving. It is something that I feel deeply in our heart as a family, as a person, and as a elected official. I feel very strongly about making sure that we try to make a difference from the time that we are capable of doing it until our last breathing breath. And I think it's important, Pastor, that those of us understand we have not only a vocation to participate in our democracy, but to make sure that others do it as well.
Thank you. You can now give us your closing statement.
Thank you very much. I think that most people that are on here know who I am and what I stand for and whom I stand with and what I believe in. I don't think the people of the Valley know my opponent and how he stands with the Republican colleagues that are killing and stealing our jobs and our economic opportunities and giving them away to corporate Ohio. He's been silent, as the Republicans have, on how we are bailing out 2 coal-fired electric plants, one in Indiana and one in Cincinnati. That's raising our electric bills. He's been silent on the $60 million corporate bribery scandal. From my first day, I've always talked about making sure that we confront the problems with the government. I'm running to force the state to live up to that promise. I'm running because I think it's important that people understand the responsibilities that I have, that we have, and we have in protecting our democracy. And I'm just running because I think that I can't allow my opponent to hide or run away from what I consider his responsibility in answering it. Together, we can build a better, stronger Ohio. And I'd appreciate your vote and hope that I can make that, you can help make that happen. This is about helping save our democracy, protecting the rights of women, children, and adults. And that's what our elections are about today. So I hope everyone gets out to vote.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Hagan. And good luck to you on Election Day.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Kim. I have another young lady who is here with us, and she's aspiring to become the next governor of Ohio. So I'm going to bring her on board at this time in the person of Nan Whaley. And so, Nan, give us about 2 minutes of opening statement, and then we'll be ready for questions after that.
Hey, thanks, Pastor Harrison. I bring you greetings from a house in Toledo where I was just doing trick or treat here in the city of Toledo with Councilman Nick Comives. It's a pleasure to be on. I'm Nan Whaley, the Democratic nominee for governor. And frankly, I'm running because I think Ohio deserves better than what we're getting from 4 decades of one-party rule and a governor who's been in office since I was 10 months old. And we see that the average Ohio wage earner makes less today than they did in 1976 when Mike DeWine first took office. We see that they used to be, the average Ohioan used to make more than the average American, and today they make less. And over again, we're on the top of bad lists and the bottom of good lists. We lead the state in things like corruption, and we are the worst in the country as of last month on job loss. This is what we're getting with Mike DeWine because he's more interested in taking care of his family and his special interest friends than working family. College in my family, I understand what being a working class person is. I'm proud to be in the working class, and we need someone in that office that's going to fight for working class families. Pastor Harrison, I'm really glad to be on today. As the former mayor of Dayton and past president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I know that our communities are often forgotten and ignored in Columbus. And when elected, I'll make sure that the Ohio State House remembers all of our communities across Ohio, not just the ones near the Columbus area. So it's great to be on with you all. And thank you so much for taking time and being flexible with my schedule today.
No, we thank you. Trick-or-treating and running all over the state and making sure people know who you are. I have a couple of questions for you. Okay.
Sure.
What is your opinion about allowing teachers to be armed in the classroom?
Well, this is very personal to me. You know, in Dayton, we experienced a senseless mass shooting in 2019, and 27 more were injured in 32 seconds. And the day after the shooting, we had a vigil on the same street where we had lost our neighbors hours earlier. And Mike DeWine came to that vigil too, as well as thousands of Daytonians. And when he got up to speak, the people of Dayton shouted in frustration, "Do something." The governor called me the next day and said he intended to do something around gun safety. And look, I took him at his word. If anyone's going to work to make your community more safe, you work with them. And I like to work across party lines. I stood next to him when he unveiled his Strong Ohio bill. And then I watched him do absolutely nothing to move the bill forward. What we've seen since is things that even law enforcement is against, like Stand Your Ground, permitless concealed carry, which increases officer-involved shootings by 14%, and then arming of teachers, bus drivers, and cafeteria workers with very little training, even though they don't want this added responsibility and law enforcement's against it. As governor, I'll work to roll back those senseless laws that make our communities less safe. And then I'll work to pass universal background checks, something 9 out of 10 Ohioans agree with, and extreme risk protection orders or red flag laws, things that even Florida and Indiana have. We need to make sure that we don't have to be worried when we go to Friday night football games that we're going to not come home from a shooting. And we need to feel confident that our kids can go into the classroom feeling safe that they'll come home. Or we can go to the grocery store. And the way that Mike DeWine is doing it, because he receives the most money from the gun makers of any statewide elected these past 10 years, he takes care of them instead of making our communities more safe. And I will stop that as governor.
Fantastic. Got another question for you. Okay.
Yes.
With the condition of the current economy as governor, what would you do to increase the increasing cost of things such as prescription drugs, gas prices, and etc. for the citizens of Ohio?
Uh-oh.
Did you hear it?
Prescription. What would I do to curb the cost of gas prices, prescription drugs, and
Whatever else comes along with that.
Sure. Yeah, so I am really proud of the work that we've done to really put recommendations of what we would do if when elected governor. For example, there's $2.7 billion coming down from the federal government. We would give an inflation rebate to every single working person in the state. That, again, states like Florida and Indiana have done this to give relief on gas and groceries. It's about $350 per person. Secondly, we would put a suspension on the gas tax for 6 months and fill that hole with the rainy day fund. So that way, giving relief to folks as gas prices are going up, we know that they will probably go down. So this is an opportunity to give people relief right now. We'd also stop price gouging. Ohio is one of the few places in the country where corporations can gouge consumers with no repercussions. It's making our prescription drug costs go up, as well as our utility costs as well. And I'll cap insulin rates at $30 a month, something that even the state of Kentucky has done. Now, Pastor, I think that we are a common sense state that need common sense solutions, and that's what you'll get with Cheryl Stevens and I as governor and lieutenant governor.
Fantastic. I got another question for you. Okay. This question is Ohio has had its share of police shootings of unarmed Black men. Since you want to be the next governor of Ohio, what is it that you believe you can do to bring about police reform in Ohio? And then I have a B question after you answer the A part.
Sure. Well, everybody deserves to feel safe when they're having interactions with law enforcement. We need law enforcement. It's important when we call 911 that they show up, but also everyone, no matter what they look like or what side of town they live in, they should be treated with dignity and respect in that interaction. I'm proud. As I was proud of the work I did as mayor of Dayton. We actually did police reform from the bottom up with activists getting engaged, over 100 folks, police, clergy, activists coming together, majority African-American on each committee. And we put forward recommendations to change, our officer use of force policies, as well as the work we did to change alternative response models. It actually won an award from the All-American City. It made Dayton an All-American City because they cited the bottom-up approach that we did in Dayton. I'm proud of that work. We need more of that kind of activity in the state house. This governor, as a former prosecutor, likes to tell everybody what he's going to do instead of asking people that are impacted what would make the best difference. And one thing I would definitely do as governor, I recognize police reform is a local effort. And so we need to support local communities in doing this work. And one example is anytime there's an officer interaction that the community wants investigated, the state should step in and investigate it. Too often, and I experienced this as mayor, there would be a questionable interaction with police and no one would agree. You could not find any other organization to investigate it to encourage transparency. As governor, I'll make sure that that is there for communities and that the state will step in no matter. I'm sorry, can you hear me and see me?
You're back.
I'm sorry, I see the little thing. I'm sorry, I might not have the best Wi-Fi here in my friend's laundry room, so apologize for that. I just would finish by saying I think it's important for that when communities want something investigated for transparency, the state should not have a choice in stepping in. They should have to step in. And that's not the case today, which causes a lot of challenges around transparency, even when both the community and the city, for example, want that investigation to be from another source.
And with that being said, are you going to defund the police?
I'm sorry, Pastor, I lost you one last time. What'd you say?
Are you going to defund the police?
No, look, I mean, like I said, I was proud as mayor that I increased the number of officers on our streets in Dayton. We know we need more police officers, but we want our police officers to treat our communities and everyone in our community with dignity and respect. And as mayor, you hold both of those ideas in your hand at the same time. I actually believe most people in Ohio feel that way too, right? And so, I think we need to make sure we have public safety. The public has to be involved, but so does police, and we can work together to have a better result for our communities and making our communities more safe.
I have another very interesting question for you.
Okay,
It
Pastor.
is, it is, what is your view on the reversal of Roe v. Wade?
Look, this has been a tough June 24th, and this second half of the year has been incredibly difficult for women across the country. For the first time in my life, a right has been taken away, and that has been really difficult to see by the U.S. Supreme Court. But if you were an Ohio woman, it was terrifying. 7 hours after Roe fell, the governor moved forward and put into law the 6-week abortion ban, and we've already seen the ramifications of our state. Like a 10-year-old who was raped in Columbus had to go across state lines to terminate her pregnancy. Mike DeWine actually thinks it's appropriate for the 10-year-old to carry that pregnancy to term. We've seen, and when he was asked about her, he said he doubted if she existed, and if she existed, she was probably lying. When Columbus police arrested her rapist and he confessed, Mike DeWine had 2 words and there were no comment. We've seen example after example of the impact this is having in our communities. It's going to affect our economic development. It's going to affect the opportunities that women have in the state, and women will choose to go elsewhere, and their partners will choose to go elsewhere too. So the first thing we would do, Cheryl and I would do as governor and lieutenant governor, would be work to put Roe v. Wade on the ballot, to codify it in the Ohio Constitution. We just want the same rights we had on June 23rd as women, and we would fight to put that on the ballot because we know Ohio is a pro-choice state.
One more question and then your closing statement, okay? How do you feel about gun control, the fact that you no longer need to be licensed to carry a weapon without any gun training whatsoever?
Yeah, so you went out for a second, but I think you were asking about concealed carry.
Yes, that's exactly. How do you feel about that now that that's no longer necessary for training or anything else?
It's wrong, right? We need to look, we're not talking about responsible gun owners here. We need to make sure this makes it very dangerous in our communities. And it's why law enforcement was against it. Permitless concealed carry increases officer involved shootings by 14% in the country. And because police officers now, you're not required to tell police officers that you have a gun in the car or you have a gun on you. So they automatically assume everyone has a weapon. And that increases the escalation that happens between police officers and citizens. So you want to talk about something that makes it worse in our communities, makes it more dangerous, is permitless concealed carry. Again, I'd roll back this terrible law and make sure that we put in place universal background checks and red flag laws in this state.
So give us your closing statement.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I think people don't understand what a precipice Ohio is on this cliff end right now. We have a choice in the state. We can choose to be a state that embraces freedom, embraces inclusivity, follows democracy, believes in democracy, and makes our communities more safe. Or we can go down the path we are right now, where we restrict women's healthcare access, where women have to worry about dying on operating tables, where we have to worry about if our kids will come home safely from Friday night football games, and where our lawmakers flaunt democratic processes that we've called for by a vote of the people. And I know that most people assume Ohio is going to go a way that I don't think it should. And the coastal elites are waiting to take our kids and to take our companies that will leave here because of these extreme measures. But we have a pathway forward. We can be a state that I believe the majority of the state is, one that is welcoming, that is inclusive, that is prone to growth, and that protects our citizens' freedoms, their freedoms to get around, as well as their health care. And that's why I'm running for governor with Cheryl Stevens. Look, I don't think the past 4 decades have been great for Ohio. And if you don't think so either, then we clearly need to change. And that's what we are. That's what the Whaley Stevens tickets is about. We need a complete and total overhaul at the State House, and it's going to take 2 working class women to get that job done. Thank you, Pastor.
With that all being said, we are so grateful that you have interrupted trick or treat and all of the running around that you and the other judges are doing to present your platform to the people of Ohio. And our prayers are with you and for you as you continue to be safe in the endeavors that you are doing. Okay.
Hey, bless you. I'll keep you in my prayers. You keep me in yours. Okay.
Count it done. All right. Count it done. You be blessed and take care now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Let me see. Where am I and what am I doing? Or what did I just do? Okay. There's no. Oh, here they go. I just lost some people. Lord. Okay. So now, because of the time changes that took place, there's a couple of people that we're looking for, but we don't see them at this particular time. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring forth Judge D'Onofrio, and let's just go ahead and bring him forth. And if you don't mind, Judge, give us a 2-minute opening statement, and then we'll ask you some questions.
Sounds great, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor, and thanks to Union Baptist Church. You know, these type of forums are real important as far as educating our citizens regarding what their office holders and what their government's supposed to do, because the best way to hold government accountable and those people that hold positions in government is that we have an educated public. And forums like this, we are good because to understand what they're supposed to do is a good way to hold us accountable. But I've been your Court of Appeals judge for the last 5 terms. I feel honored to do that. The Court of Appeals is a court of review. Okay, we sit on a panel of 3, and what we do is we review trial court decisions. My other colleagues are Judge Cheryl Wade, Judge Carol Robb, and Judge Dave D'Appolito. And when we work in a panel of 3 and review trial court decisions. Most of our work is very academic. We get the record from the trial court, and our job is to review whether or not the trial judge made any error. And the bottom line is we're assuring that people receive fair trials in this state and in the trial courts of the state. I work very well with my colleagues. Civility is something lost in government. We like each other, but we do not always agree. But one thing we do agree on is we agree to disagree in an agreeable fashion. I feel that I've established a record of judicial independence, judicial integrity, and the rule of law is real important to me. I've tried my best, and I feel that I've accomplished putting in and protecting the rule of law. And all that simply means is that we decide cases on the facts before us and the law before us, not being influenced by any outside source. And I'm proud that I could say that I've made promises to my constituents in the past that I would never do anything to embarrass them. I feel I've kept that promise, and if fortunate enough to be reelected, I promise that I will continue to do that in this, my last term.
Fantastic. Got a couple of questions for you.
Absolutely.
What have you done in the community to encourage our young people to take a greater interest in the law and become law-abiding citizens?
Well, you know, judicial education is real important to me. And what I've done is I've instituted a program at the court. We actually go into area high schools, and we have live hearings in area high schools. And after the hearings, we will take questions and answers, and we try and encourage young people, you know, those that are interested in law or those that are interested in government, that these are important things that they can do and aspire to contribute to society. I also teach up at Youngstown State University. I've really enjoyed that. I help coach and mentor the Youngstown Moot Court competition team. My other colleagues also get involved with that. Judge Rob, Judge Wade, Judge Diapolito, and anything we can do to promote judicial education, we feel it's really important, because when you have judicial education, that increases public access because they understand how the courts work, and it makes the courts available.
Fantastic. I have another question. I'm going to ask this question of you. What motivates you to serve?
Well, I've been blessed to have some great mentors in my life. Number one, my father, who has served this community for years, one of his classmates from Youngstown College of Law, Judge Nathaniel Jones, who we were involved in creating a legal organization named in his honor to mentor young lawyers and also to promote civility amongst older lawyers. But this whole idea of service, I guess it was part of my upbringing, and having a love of government, politics, and the law. I feel really blessed that I'm in this position where I could help make a difference in this third branch of government, in providing, helping to provide an oversight and a check and balance by reviewing trial court decisions with my colleagues and doing the best I can in making sure that those at the trial court level have been afforded a fair trial. So those are some of the things that motivate me.
Okay. And then I have another question for you. You have served in the 7th District Court of Appeals for several terms. What are your accomplishments since being elected to the court, and why should you be reelected?
Well, Pastor, I've always aspired, in addition to my judicial record, which I think speaks for itself, is to keep the court up to date with technology. I think I was involved right from the beginning in making sure that our court has the latest in technology, and that really helps us process cases in a timely and efficient manner. In addition to that, we were in a location at the Mahoning County Courthouse that was the size of one trial court, and we have 20 members, including our staff and 4 judges. And it was just hard to do the work that we do, because we do a lot behind the scenes. The court hearing is only a half hour, and most of the work is done before and after in researching the law, researching the case, and then eventually writing a decision and opinion. So I was really instrumental in acquiring the funding and the design of our Court of Appeals courthouse that's in downtown Youngstown. I'm very proud of that fact. And we have an 8-county district, and it was important to me. Mahoning County is our largest county. The city of Youngstown is the largest city in our largest county. And it was important to me that we stay in downtown Youngstown. So I'm very proud of that fact. During COVID, I took a leadership role in regards to keeping the public safe, as well as our staff safe, in instituting remote hearings, remote communications with our staff, with the public. And the result of that was we were able to stay up to date and current with our caseload. In fact, to the point where the trial court decisions weren't coming in because they're in a unique situation. They had to put a hold on many of their trials just to protect, witnesses, juries, attorneys. We didn't have to do that. And that was another thing that I was very proud of. And then in addition to that, my family's been very involved with addiction services for indigent clients. In fact, there's a D'Onofrio home that It's one of the first in-house residential treatment facilities that was started back in the late 60s. Now, it's not named after me, but I've sat on the boards for years to make sure that those services could be available because unfortunately, there's plenty of services if you commit a crime and you end up in prison for addiction, but we want to avoid that. We want to be able to treat cross addictions and mental illness and provide those services to those individuals that don't have the resources. So I'm also proud of that.
Give us your closing statement.
Once again, thank you for this opportunity to speak to all of you here tonight. It's very important. I promise to the citizens and to the voters that I will continue my service in the fashion that I have performed my service, and that is to decide cases solely on the law and the facts before us, and to make sure that the rule of law, not the rule of man, is the determining factor in deciding cases. Partisan politics should stay out of the judiciary and that third branch of government. And my commitment is to continue that. And with that, I respectfully ask for the support of the voters and the citizens of my 7th District Court of Appeals. Thank you, Pastor, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us on tonight. And okay, I see some folk getting on. They kind of lost their links, or they didn't have them. But while I'm getting all of that together, I just sent a link out to a young lady, Jalada Aslam. I'm hoping that she has received it. And once she does that, she's going to come on for just a couple of minutes to talk about voting while I take care of those who I need to resend the link to. So Jalada should be on here in just a moment. I see I need to get this out to 2 other people. And then once I do that, I'm waiting to see if when Jalada pops up. And then once she does that, that'll give me a chance to go over and to do that. So Kim, you keep an eye out on time and all that kind of stuff while I make sure that Judge Jemison and Chelsea Clark get the information that's needed. So I'm just waiting until she comes on board here, and then we will go from there. And even though Jalada wanted me to sing Never Could Have Made It, now I got to bring her up in here to do some stuff while I take care of those who need to get that link. So Jalada, I hope you're on. I hope you got it. I hope you're ready, and we can go from there. This normally does not happen to us, but we live in an economically challenged time. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Here we go. We have this young lady here who is here with us right now in the person of Judge Terry Jemison. And so I'm going to bring her on board right now. Judge Jemison, if you would unmute at this time and give us a 2-minute introduction, and then we'll do questions and answers.
Well, good afternoon and blessings be unto you, Pastor Harrison. I am Judge Terry Jameson. I am a judge on the 10th District Court of Appeals. I currently reside in Franklin County. I'm originally from West Virginia. I'm a 3rd-generation coal miner. I worked for the United Mine Workers of America and throughout some of my younger years. I was laid off and moved to Ohio, where I soon became an office manager for an insurance agency and later started my own business. I ran and owned and operated my own insurance agency for 16 years prior to going to law school. I sold my agency, went to law school, Capital University Law School. I graduated. I currently, after that, began my legal career with the Franklin County Public Defender's Office. I left the Defender's Office to start my own firm. So I owned and operated my own law firm as well. I represented men and women across Ohio, guaranteeing their rights, their constitutional right to have representation. After traveling the state, representing individuals and families, I soon discovered that there were not many women on the court. So I ran for judge in 2012 and was successfully elected by 10 points, served and ran for reelection, elected by 20 points, and then ran for the seat that I currently hold now and defeated a three-term incumbent by 7 points to take my seat on the Court of Appeals. And thank you so much to everyone that's here tonight to hear my story.
Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions for you, okay? Before
Yes, sir.
becoming a judge, what were your qualifications that moved you into the area or motivated you to become a judge?
I represented men and women across Ohio in criminal trials, trials to a jury, trials to the court. I also represented men and women in domestic relations cases, probate cases, and represented juveniles and families in juvenile delinquency cases and what's called abuse, neglect, and dependency cases. I did that at the trial and the appellate level. I also was a hearing officer for the state of Ohio, hearing unemployment compensation appeals. So I wrote those, heard those cases, wrote those decisions, and determined whether or not men and women were eligible to receive their unemployment.
A good question for you. And that question is, as soon as there we go. If elected, how would you make a difference on the Ohio Supreme Court bench?
If elected, I'm going to bring my qualifications, the variety of service that I have, and I'm known to be creative and innovative and work well with others around the state. I have collaborated with men and women to make sure that we have the right information for families, providing programming for men and women throughout the court to obtain jobs, job training, job skills. I believe that bringing my background as working in labor, having been a hearing officer, representing men and women in criminal court, standing before juries, I understand. I'm also have done continuing legal education classes. I've been an adjunct professor at Capital University Law School. I'm on their board of counselors. I bring experience being on the advisory board for global healthcare education. I bring a wide variety of experience that I can help to direct policy and procedure from the top.
So let me ask this question. What motivates you to serve?
Well, I have a passion for service. I think one thing when you are a woman of faith and a woman that has worked her own way up, it motivates you to help and to serve someone else. And you know, it's important that we bring service to public service. And I'm not just a judge. I'm a woman of faith. I'm a pastor. I know what it means to serve and to serve well. You serve when you don't feel like it. You serve when you feel like it. And you serve because it's the right thing to do and because someone else is depending on you to be there to serve.
So let me say this. We're grateful we finally were able to get you on. I know this is a crazy time for you and all of the things that you are doing. So I appreciate that. So if you don't mind, can you just give us your closing statement?
First of all, let me say thank you to everyone that took the time to be here and to hear me and why I'm so passionate about equal justice under the law. I grew up in West Virginia and I grew up in segregation. It was Brown versus Board of Education that impacted my life, allowed me to be in an integrated school, and allowed me to have an opportunity for education that was equal to everyone else's. I've been impacted by the law in those ways directly. And I understand the profound impact that the Supreme Court can have on the lives of all Ohioans. I know that in redistricting, the maps will come back in 2024. The map that we are using is unconstitutional, but we're voting under it to make sure that you have an opportunity to elect someone that will stand in the gap and provide legal decisions that are in the best interest of all Ohio. Thank you so much for your time. I am Judge Terry Jameson. I am asking for your vote between now and November the 8th. You can go to my website, votejudgejameson.com, if you would like to volunteer, donate, or receive an email newsletter. It's imperative that we get this seat. With my win, I will be the fourth and deciding Democrat on the court to help make decisions that will impact all of us. I'm also will be only the fifth African American to serve out of 162 justices in the state of Ohio. I think it's important that you have representation, that you have someone that's passionate about justice, and I am passionate about equal justice under the law for all Ohioans. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you again so much for taking time out of what it has to be the craziest schedule on the planet and sharing your heart and your aspirations with us. Glad we were able to get you on there. You stay safe, and our prayers are with you as well.
Thank you so much, Pastor Harrison, and to everyone else. God bless you. May heaven smile on you and give you peace.
Bless you. Okay, we are so glad that we were able to do that. And Chelsea said she was on, but I don't see her. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get with her and do this. I do have at this time, Mark Hanai is on, and I am going to bring Kim in, and Kim will go from there. Give me a second so that I can make sure that I bring him in. We have him on. Oh, here he is. Okay, we got him. So, Kim, Mark is in your hands, and she'll ask you a couple of things, and she'll lead it from there. And I'm going to move out the way.
You're never in the way, Reverend.
Good evening, Mr. Hannah.
Good evening, Ms. Moses.
Before
How
I
are you?
start with, I'm fine, thank you. Before I start with the questions, could you please give us your opening statement?
I'm attorney Mark Hanai. I'm running for the 7th District Court of Appeals. The 7th District composes 8 counties, starting with Mahoning, which is the furthest north, and Noble County, which is the furthest south. So it goes all along the river, and then a couple other counties to the west a little bit, and that's Carroll County, Harrison County, and Monroe County. It includes Belmont County, Jefferson County, Mahoning, and Columbiana also. And I am running for the 7th District Court of Appeals. Recently, the state legislature has changed the law and they made the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court identify what party you're from. And I was a Democrat for years and years and years. You may know that, Ms. Moses. And my father was a Democratic Party chairman. But the party has pretty much left me and left my family. I will always follow the law as every judge must do. But I do believe that your constituents have a right to know what your political philosophies and what your values are. So if they want to vote for somebody that's in line with their type of values or their political views, then they can. Before they identified the party, you had to guess and you just had to hope unless the advertisement went with it, because it's a big district. There's no way you can knock on every door, which I have been knocking on doors. I went to Duquesne Law School after graduating from YSU. Prior to that, I was the deputy director at the Mahoning County Board of Elections. I had a radio talk show for probably about a year. And I have 4 children. I'm a single dad. Their mother passed away in 1998 unexpectedly. And I raised 4 kids and I have 2 grandkids. And running for office for this position is mainly because of my grandkids, because I don't know what this country's coming to. It's very unfiltered. The liberals have been so liberal. It's not the working guy anymore or the working woman anymore. When we were with the Democratic Party, in which my father was the chairman of, we were pro-life, pro-Christian, pro-family. Matter of fact, you know, everybody in your neighborhood used to call aunt and uncle just about, and if they scolded you, it was worse than your parents scolding you, and you didn't dare tell your parents. I do believe that the conservatives, really the past liberals that just have common sense, need to stand up and be counted before it's too late. That's
okay, Mr. Hanna, let me interrupt you because we do have limited time. So thank you for the opening statement. Now, I'm sure that you know that the 7th District Court of Appeals is reviewed by a panel of 3 judges, and the decisions that are made in the Court of Appeals is based on the law and not on party affiliation. So if elected to the Court of Appeals, what would you be able to bring to the court?
Well, as you well know, Ms. Moses, a lot of opinions and a lot of decisions are written from your perspective of what the law is. A lot of Democrats these days are legislating from the bench. I'm a constitutionalist. I would go by the letter of the law. I would apply the letter of the law across the board equally and fairly. I grew up in the city of Youngstown. If you ask people in the city of Youngstown or people that know me, they know I'm a very fair and just person. And you were right, it is a panel of 3 judges. However, there are 4 judges elected to the 7th District Court of Appeals, and it's been a Democrat-controlled court for at least 50 years, saving except for about 3 years. Right now, there's 3 Democrats sitting on there and 1 Republican. So if you had Republican values or Republican outlooks, you're really not being equally applied across the board, because only at one time could you have 1 Republican. You may have 3 Democrats, but at best you'll have 2 Democrats and 1 Republican reviewing it. And with the way society is going today, I do believe that the people, your constituents, have the right to know what your political values and what your views are. And take that into account, because there is a lot of legislation from the bench. I'm a constitutionalist. It would go by the letter of the law.
Okay. So the judges that sit in the 7th District Court of Appeals is elected by the people. And as Judge D'Onofrio mentioned when he was speaking, the cases that are heard in the Court of Appeals, the judges that sit on the cases are randomly selected. And so it still goes back to the decisions are based on the law and the way that the law is written. So with that, what have you done in the community to help to educate our youth as far as the law and to make them law-abiding citizens?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I've been very involved in our community prior to being an attorney. I coached junior high football for a number of years. I instilled values with those kids, respect with those young men. More recently, I am a member for the St. Augustine Society, and we house young men that are aged out of the foster homes, and they have nowhere to go. We provide them with housing. As a matter of fact, it's the old Dr. Murray's building on Glenwood Avenue. You may be familiar with that. And we house young men there, and also we employ them at the St. Augustine Society Cafe, in which we teach them and try to teach them and provide them with Christian education, Christian values, but teach them, more importantly, an occupation that would allow them to move on and get a job. And also we give them they pay a small stipend. They're working, they get paid for it, and they pay rent. And as you well know, in order for you to rent anywhere and become a tenant, you have to have a background and show that you've paid rent in the past and have a job that is stable, that you can provide, so you can provide the rent. I've been doing this for a number of years. We just raised quite a bit of funds in regards to purchase that building, not only to purchase it, but we raise funds to operate it. I go there quite often. Also, with those young men, I provide them with a lot of free legal representation. I'm very involved with the drug and alcohol community. I own a sober living facility over on Broadway, and we have quite a big success rate at that facility there. We have about a 60% recovery rate. And I pro bono, I give a lot of free advice and legal representation for people that have drug addictions, and counsel them myself personally. And I'm very involved in that due to the fact I have 4 children and 2 grandchildren, and I'm blessed that they don't have drug problems. And I go out and try to give back to the community, and I have for years.
Thank you so much for that information and all that you've done. Could you please give us your closing statement?
Yes, ma'am. It's been a Democrat-controlled court for a number of years. The Democrats, in my opinion, nationally have been coming off the hook. I am pro-life, and if you're pro-life, then maybe you're a Republican. I'm for police funding. Maybe you're a Republican if you're police funding. I'm for the Second Amendment. I believe that we should have our own firearms, not only to protect ourselves in the community, but to protect ourselves against tyranny, in which the Second Amendment was based on. I'm for drilling, and I'm for coal mining, because the gas prices are going to be outrageous. They're down a little bit now, but they're going to go off the hook, which contributes to our high economy, our high inflation. And that's going to continue, and it's going to be crazy out there. Let the inflation keep going, and the have and have-nots, there's going to be a big problem. Sanctuary cities, I'm against sanctuary cities. I'm for state issue 1, which will the court would have to take into account the public safety, which they don't now. And that's when we're talking about Democrat and Republican opinions. That just changed from an appeal court decision that went to the Supreme Court. And it was a very close decision. It was a 4-3 decision. I am for state issue 2 also. I believe that you have to be a citizen to vote. But I would always apply the law equally, and I would be out there to protect our rights, and vote Mark Hanna to protect your rights.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
for participating. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, and you take care and stay safe out there, all right?
I will, and you too, Pastor.
All right, will do. At this time, we have another young lady who is coming on board. I'm going to bring her on, Chelsea Clark. She is in a car, and so, okay, Chelsea, are you there?
Pastor Harrison, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Let me see if we can. Oh man,
Okay. No. Well, you know what? I can see your necklace, so that's good enough. That's good enough. We
Is
know
that a little bit
there
better?
you go. There you go. Chelsea, and I know you're traveling, but can you just give us an opening statement and then we'll proceed?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for inviting me and giving me some grace on this time. As you know how it is, I'm actually traveling with the kiddos. I totally forgot it was Halloween, so I'm trying to wear my mommy hat as well, as so many of us are wearing dual hats. But I am Councilwoman Chelsea Clark. I am also a small business owner. I own a science, tech, engineering, and math laboratory in Southwestern Ohio. I am a sixth-generation farmer from Allen County and mother of two teenagers, and I am your candidate for Ohio Secretary of State. I'm running because so many issues that have come up, especially from the 2020 election, that very much concerned me, especially when it comes to voter access. And what we saw in 2020 was widespread civic engagement, more so than we've ever seen in American history, not only in American history, but also in Ohio, with over 5.9 million people exercising their right to vote. And instead of people and the government being so excited and welcoming of that civic engagement, what happened is we had over 400 pieces of legislation that got introduced across the United States, over a dozen of those states accepting and having those laws put into place that made it harder for citizens to vote. And that is an extreme problem. The struggle that we've come from, the fight that we've been on, my father was in that fight in the civil rights movement in '64 when he was just 17 and jailed in a Birmingham jail. And to see that we are still fighting my father's fight is absolutely unconscionable. We also have, as a Secretary of State, responsibility in the state of Ohio is business access. And one thing we know is that we need more supports when it comes to small mom and pop business access, for our folks that would like to create generational wealth and are the backbone of some of these communities in Ohio. And so for those reasons, I'm extraordinarily passionate and excited to be a person on the side of the people and not play the partisan politics that we've gotten ourselves entrenched in, and actually deliver.
Thank you. Got a question for you. What motivates you to serve?
Oh goodness. So I started serving, I would say actually in high school. I was a member of the Black Achievers, YMCA Black Achievers back in Lima, Ohio. And I really enjoyed the work. I enjoyed the civic engagement. I enjoyed just working on the behalf of my community. When I graduated from Miami University, and while I was at school, I got involved in politics. I enjoyed working on campaigns. I enjoyed working in organizations that were the voice and advocating for minority students of all sorts of walks of life. And so, and by the time I got down to Cincinnati, I even was a PTA president for the public school, and neither one of my children attended it. But I believe that when you've got skills and you've got talents, and when you just care about your community, you also have an obligation and a responsibility to be part of the fabric and making it better. And so I've always wanted to fight for marginalized folks, for people that I don't think get a fair shake. I think what we're seeing right now, more so than ever before, is we've got a loud voice from a few that are affecting negatively the everyday lives of regular people that are the majority. And it is time that we can get people that can stand up to insurrectionists, extremists, and bullies in these seats of power, so that the better good is going to happen for all of them. And I'm a strong person. Got it from my daddy and my mama, who was a civil rights investigator for Ohio. And that's my mom. And so I get it honest, and it makes me feel so good when those folks are heard.
Fantastic. Let me ask you this. How do you feel about the Ohio Redistricting Commission's fact that their boundaries were rejected 4 times by the Ohio Supreme Court?
If I may pass, Mr. Pastor, if I may say, we actually have a rejection of 7. So 7 times, 5 legislative and 2 congressional are redistricting, the redistricting commission's maps were rejected by the Ohio Supreme Court. So everyone understands. In 18, Ohio went through a redistricting. It went to a ballot referendum, meaning that people across Ohio got to vote. 74.89% of us, all Ohioans, so great majority of them being Republican as well, said, hey, we really want some reform when it comes to this redistricting process. We'd like it to be bipartisan. We like it to, meet certain criteria so that every vote not only is counted, but certainly the voices of the folks are heard and it's not gerrymandered. That is why we have what's called a supermajority in Ohio. Ohio looks very red, but it's in fact very rigged. And so I am absolutely one of the reasons I ran as well is because the Secretary of State is one of 7 members on the redistricting commission. It is extraordinarily vital that I sit on that redistricting commission, because what has happened is the 5 GOP on there and the 2 Democrats, the Secretary of State, whose entire responsibility is to work on behalf of the people, and especially the voters and the electorate that demanded in an overwhelming majority that they wanted redistricting reform. What he did instead was vote for unconstitutional maps. Not once, not twice, not 4 times, not 5, 7 times. Think about the economic implications this has for us. We're talking about over $800,000 in litigation alone in the court system through this situation, not to mention that's what led to the Ohio special election in August. That was an extreme problem. We're talking about over $25 million of our hard-earned tax dollars that went to an election that hardly anybody even participated in, let alone knew about, or as Judge Jameson spoke on earlier, we're actually the voting that occurred August 2nd was based on maps that were found unconstitutional. You got to think about that. We've got my opponent sought out Trump's endorsement, received it, and so has absolutely no intention of voting for fair, square maps where minority communities are not being dissected and diluted so that their voices are not heard and they are not getting the economic resources they are due. And that is what I will change once I sit on that commission, which will be meeting before this term is up. Under a Clark administration, my term would be up.
Okay. So why should we vote for you?
Well, I am not only smart, I'm not only smart and motivated, but I actually am very much concerned and am a lover of American democracy. It has availed us many things. We have promises that are still due to us. And I was a political science and business major. And one thing that I've built my campaign on and that I live by is that this office in particular, the Secretary of State, the chief elections officer for your entire state, the entity or the individual that certifies the election, that means who won the election, reading only the data, not skewing numbers to benefit of their party, not trying to create ambitious climbs up the social ladder, but this is about doing the will of the people. You've got to be really strong, steadfast. And I see our democracy as being something that is extremely threatened right now. It is threatened by our number one denier of our elections, which is Trump. And like I said, my opponent has that endorsement, and I don't understand how you can, in good conscience, accept an endorsement like that, work with people like that who are heck bent on demolishing this democracy that is allowing people to eke out something with dignity at the end of their lives. And that is what I'm here to fight for. I'm going to stand up to insurrectionists, extremists, and bullies at every turn to make sure that that is a red, white, and blue seat. It is not red and it ain't blue.
Well, do you have a closing statement, or was that the closing statement?
Well, I reckon, well, I grew up a 6th generation farm. I don't know if I told y'all that, but I reckon I should probably tell you some of the things that I will accomplish. Now, I was just endorsed by the plain dealer, the only down ballot candidate, Democrat, endorsed by the plain dealer, because it's not just about having a passion for the office, but it's also understanding what you're going to do when you get in that office. And I have been laying out this plan for over a year. I have been running. One thing we've got to do is I will be igniting automatic voter registration when our children turn 18 years of age. We've got to expand early voting days and hours. You know that after Obama was elected, they couldn't wait to repeal and get rid of Golden Week. That is a time when people could register and vote in the same day, and it worked beautifully. We had no, extreme instances of fraud at all. Good, honest folks that are eligible Americans were voting, and we've got to bring that back. We've also got to make sure that we've got more secure ballot boxes throughout these counties. One is simply not enough, and it is unfair, even on these back rural and country roads. In terms of business, I'll be creating a business snapshot to make it easier for economic development entities and different folks that want to get that data so that they can understand in terms of resource flow, business acquisitions and things like that. Can have that type of access. I've worked on the Economic Development Commission for some time now in my city. And also I will be the first to start what's called a entrepreneurship office. This will be a one-stop shop where all of our best practices are going to be housed to help minority, small, mom and pop businesses. We're not talking like our big 300 folk small businesses, but our everyday businesses around the state that need good quality access and should not have to pay for highfalutin attorneys and extreme accountants in order to access those resources and understand how those how the process and the portal works. There's a reason we're not in the top 10 for starting a business and sustaining one in Ohio, and that will change under a Clark administration.
Chelsea Clark, thank you so much for juggling all of those different things that you had to do to be with us. And we appreciate your platform, your drive, your heart. And we'll be praying. Make sure you stay safe. And we look forward to seeing you later.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the prayers, Pastor.
Will do. I have another young lady that I'm bringing on board with us right now, and she is running for Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Ohio in the person of Judge Jennifer Bruner. And so what I'm going to do is have you, and I know you're in the car, everybody's traveling, okay? But if you can just give us an opening statement, then I have a couple of questions for you, and we'll go from there. And we can't hear you. I know it says you're unmuted, but we don't hear a thing.
All right, let's try that. There, how about that? Is that
you
better?
Are in, yes.
Okay, very good. So thank you. I know Chelsea Clark said she comes from Lima, Ohio. That's exactly where I am right now, just leaving a UAW hall where we had a meeting with my sisters-in-law, Judges Jameson and Zayas, with voters here in Lima. So I'm running for the Chief Justice spot on the Ohio Supreme Court, currently serving as a justice. Win or lose, I'll still be on the court, but I plan to win. And the reason I'm running is because I care about the future of Ohio's courts. I bring to the job exceptional experience, having served at all three levels of the court: common pleas court as a trial court judge in Franklin County, starting the adult felony drug court 18 years ago. It's still in operation today. 6 years on the 10th District Court of Appeals in Franklin County. Also 4 years as Ohio Secretary of State, the first female from 2007 to 2011. So I supervised the first Obama election, and now I'm in my second year on the Ohio Supreme Court. I also have 17 years of private practice experience, and I also have done rule of law work. And I think the last time I may have spoken to you with many of you, I was actually in Africa, in the country of Benin, working with the Human Rights Commission there. So I've worked in Serbia, Egypt, Sri Lanka, remotely in Kazakhstan, and also in Benin. And I've been awarded the John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award in 2008. And it only impressed upon me my dedication for public service. The guiding principles that I live by for public service are fairness, equality, and respect. Family-wise, I am traveling with my husband right now of 44 years. We have 3 adult children. They're all married, 6 grandchildren, ages 11 to 2. We somehow picked up a couple extra dogs, so we've got 3 dogs and 2 cats. And we spend a lot of time on the weekends at our farm in Columbiana County, but we work in Columbus during the week. So I'm so pleased to be with you all. Thank you.
We thank you so much because we know you're juggling like everybody else, all of these different things. I'm going to read this question to you. It says, as soon as I find, here we go. If elected, your responsibility would be to preside over the Supreme Court in its public sessions when the court is hearing arguments and during its private conferences when it is discussing and deciding cases. What changes would you make to the responsibilities, if any? And I think you may understand that a little bit better than I do.
Certainly, I've been very blessed to have a front row seat to watch the longest serving woman in statewide elective office, Maureen O'Connor, in action. She is a true public servant. She is fair. She's bright. And so I think, my style is a collaborative style. I'm not afraid to make a decision, but I want to hear the input of others because I know from a sense of humility that I don't have all the answers. It's really important for a judge to know what they don't know. It's dangerous when they don't know what they don't know. And I think to begin with, I've thought, what would I do in the start? And I would sit down with any of the existing members of the court that were still there after the election and say, what do you like about what we've done and what would you change? And try to take that into account to educate myself about how the other justices feel when certain things are handled in a particular way. And being collaborative, I think, results in better decisions that will stick and that are more appreciated. And quite frankly, when there's the opportunity to make change, the more people that you can bring to the table who'd be affected by that change, then with their input, they turn around and leave and they become your ambassadors of change. And I've learned that in public service, it is that kind of empowerment that in the end makes the result greater than the sum of its parts. And that is kind of one of the magic things about public service. It's this humanity that you can take and you can amplify to the point where it does this special thing that only humanity can.
So then what motivates you to serve?
Because I have been, as a young person, and thought, oh, I want to be in public services. I want to make a difference. But I when I worked for Sherrod Brown when he was Secretary of State, I was gung ho like that, and I had been his legislative person, and so I was very proud of the fact that I had participated in changing the laws to make elections better, um, more responsive to people. But then, as I went into private practice, I watched that skinny little volume 35 of the Ohio Revised Code, which is elections, be changed over and over and over again by a subsequent legislature that didn't honor the same things that we did. And it was a lesson to me that you're only given the time you have in public service, and you can't think about anything beyond that time except to make things better for the long term for people, because it's the gift you've been given as a public servant to take that period of time you've been given and to spend it serving others, working to make their lives better for that point in time. You can't worry about your legacy. You only need to be worrying about making people's lives better with whatever tools that you have. And once I figured that out, I also understood that the only thing we have to show for the time we've been here on this earth is what we've done for others. So I am blessed that I am able to do that in such a direct way.
That is fantastic. Let me ask you this question. Will you be accessible? And what do I mean by that? Say, for instance, the community wants to have a conversation with the Supreme Court Justice, or the justices, just for the sake of making sure that you hear the community. Because I don't necessarily think that always happens right now. Is that possibility in existence? And I can't say when, but if you become Supreme Court Justice?
Yes, because I want, as the leader of all the judges of the state, of all the courts of the state. I want to inspire judges to see themselves first as public servants who happen to be judges. And when you're a public official, there's that one word, public, in front of that. And so you can't disappear from view. You have to be responsive. It's important for the court to do the outreach with the public so that they better understand what the court does in their lives and that the court can learn from them.
Excellent. So give us your closing statement.
Well, I have been traveling this state. Right now, I'm in the middle of an Ohio Justice Tour. I've worked to bring along both Judge Terry Jameson and Marilyn Zayas because it's not good enough just to win the Chief Justice seat. We need to win more seats across the board for this court to move into the 21st century. You see, it's been written by political scholars that the Ohio Supreme Court has been focused more on business interests, as they put it, in the lap of business since Reconstruction in 1867. When you fast forward to 1933 with the New Deal, largely at that time Americans were living rural lives and many without electricity. And so when the New Deal came on and so many things started happening with government, it was the first time that ordinary citizens saw that government could do something for them. And the Ohio Supreme Court has not kept up with where the New Deal went. And quite frankly, until Chief Justice O'Connor arrived at the court, and to some degree Chief Justice Moyer before her, the court was not looking at systemic problems like racial discrimination in the criminal justice system, or what the future of the courts should look like, what technology should look like to make courts more accessible, or fairness and equality in the courts. So as a good public servant, what I want to do is to move that court so that it to the point where it fully occupies its lane, where it's not only doing the work of rule of law, which is so vitally important and cannot be done by anyone other than the court, except for when the legislature and the executive do their work, but that protector of the rule of law is the courts. It is the backstop for the people of this state to ensure that that the government is held accountable on what it does for them. And so, quite frankly, I think Ohio's on the precipice and ready for some real change. And I don't say that lightly because I've been traveling this state, and as of tonight, I've been to my 35th county in since last Monday in 8 days. And my sense is that Ohioans are tired of the extremes. They're tired of the whipping and the zigzagging and what government they feel might be doing to them. And they're going back to their basic values because Ohioans have this sense of quiet and decency. It's fueled by values of fairness and honesty and hard work. And so they're looking for people who are good, decent public servants who are there for the sake of public service because they're ready to just embrace what government can do for them, not have to worry about what government's doing, so they can return to doing their good things in their community with their family and their friends. So that's why I'm in this. And I'm going to work from now until the polls close on Election Day on November the 8th. And I intend to bring this home for the people of Ohio and the state that I love so dearly. Thank you so much for having me tonight, Pastor.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stay safe as you travel throughout the state of Ohio, and our prayers are with you as well as you travel.
Thank you so much, and God bless all of you.
Bless you now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. We have one more young lady that's going to come on board, and I'm going to move out of the way. There she is. And Kim is going to take it from here, and I'm going to disappear for a little bit. Okay, Kim, we're in your hands.
All right, Pastor. Hi, Lauren. How are you this evening? Hi, Lauren. Can you hear me?
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Could you please give us your opening?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Could you please give us your opening statement?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm Lauren McNally, and I am your Democratic nominee for state representative of the 59th District. This election that we're facing in a week from now it's about us. And when I say us, I mean our families, our friends, our businesses that know our district and our state can be better than it is. That's why I ran for city council, Youngstown City Council 7 years ago, and that's why I'm running for state representative now. As your council person, as a councilwoman, I've made strong quality relationships with my colleagues, administrations, community leaders that have enabled me to improve the quality of life and implement programs that have really impacted the city as a whole. As your state representative, I'm going to build a coalition of bipartisan representatives from around Ohio that'll create common sense legislation that really works for all of our families. Legislation that focuses on things like education, from kindergarten through career employment, ensuring that our kids have access to every post-high school path available. Legislation that strengthens the relationship between local city governments and the office of the state representative, so we can make sure that we're enhancing our ARP dollars with state funds and that we're capitalizing on our collective resources rather than competing with each other. And I'm going to continue to build those relationships that I've made with the business leaders to make sure that we never lose out on economic development deals and that Columbus knows that this area is here and open for business. I'm really tired of seeing economic development deals happen in every other part of the state. Tired of us having to send millions of our local dollars down to Columbus and what they call the local government tax. As a councilwoman, I've been dedicated to the city as a whole, and as your state representative, I will do the same. I'm endorsed by the majority to work for common sense legislation for our families. And together, I know we can build an Ohio where our families feel empowered, where our children have a pathway to success, where our businesses are supported, and where government transparency is a priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. In your opening statement, you kind of answered some of the questions that were sent to us for you. So let's elaborate a little bit.
Sure.
You have served as the fifth ward councilwoman in the city for several terms. And in that time, you have done a lot to improve your precinct. So you mentioned a few minutes ago the things that you would like to do if elected to represent us in the 59th district. So can you just elaborate a little bit more on the things that you will be able to do for Mahoning and Columbiana County as you will be representing both counties, please?
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned education. That is one of the top priorities of whoever's sitting job. And it is one of the top issues that both counties deal with, because we know we are underserved we have high teacher turnover, we have low pay for our teachers, we have children who our schools who aren't being fairly funded, our children don't know all of the opportunities post high school that are available to them. And so those are things that I want to work towards bettering. We need to fairly fund our schools. We need to increase our teacher pay. We need to provide them with stable things that they know, with stability when it comes to how we evaluate them, and with the resources that they need, with the extra hands in the classrooms that they need, with the mental health support that they need. And so that's one area that I really want to get my hands dirty in, and something that, as a councilwoman, we don't really get a lot of opportunities to work on. And so I'm really excited to implement some things on the education side of things. On the other side, when it comes to stuff like economic development, traditionally work around here instead of working collectively. So Youngstown doesn't work with Austintown or Camel or Poland to create regionalized economic development programs or to create regionalized job programs, and to just pair our land next to their land and redevelop that as a site selection for business opportunities. And those are things that I want to close the gaps on. I want us to work collaboratively instead of competing for funding from the state or federal level with each other, competing for businesses. We need to just have a more cohesive and a regionalized approach when it comes to economic development. So there's a couple things.
Much. Okay, thank you very much. So in that, the question is, would you be, in your capacity, would you be seated at the table with the other, like the city mayors and those people that represent those counties, so that you can be involved in decision makings and to bring some of those good ideas to the Mahoning and Columbiana County areas that you would be representing.
Absolutely. I think it's important to sit down on a very regular basis with the community leaders. And that's that helping hand concept that I really want to put forward that I've been talking about. The helping hand, meaning that I'm going to help them. I want to sit down with them on a regular basis. The trustees, the council persons, the mayors, the commissioners, but also the quasi-government entities that we have, like EAG and the regional chamber and the Port Authority. They need to be involved as well. And so sitting down with them regularly and making sure that we're all at the table together will help just elevate the city, help the region, help us work together, help us create these regionalized programs, and make sure that we're capitalizing on state funding that's available for our programs that we want to implement here, that they want to implement here for their community that they're leading, and make sure that I'm getting those dollars into their hands rather than taking dollars down to Columbus like we have to do now.
Oh, that's awesome, Lauren. So with that and those comments, could you please give us your closing statement?
Oh, yeah, that was so fast. So I've been, like you mentioned, I've been serving Youngstown for the last 7 years. And it's really those relationships that I've forged during that time that I want to take to Columbus. That's how I'm going to ensure that as your state representative, I'm focusing on the things that you care about. I've been dedicated to this race for the last 15 months. We've seen the redistricting. We've seen them try to pull away the power of Youngstown in this redistricting, to tear down our democratic ways during this redistricting. And I really want to stop that from continuing. I really want to turn the tides with that. So I hope that everybody listening today can help me get across that finish line on November 8th. I'd really appreciate your support and your vote next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for your time.
Bye.
Again, thank you so much. Take care. Take care of the kids. I know it's Halloween and you're bouncing around doing things too, but thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us tonight. Well, Kim, we have made it to the end. We are grateful to God for all that participated, even with the little bumps in the road. We were able to start on time and to end on time. So, Kim, what do you want to say?
I would just like to say that Pastor Harrison and I are very thankful to the candidates that participated in our forum. We're very thankful to those people that tuned into our forum and to listen to what the candidates have to say. Now that you have heard what was said, we hope that you take this information as you go to vote and that your vote is heard. And we just want to impress upon everybody the importance of voting. If you are not able to vote early, please vote on election day so that your voice can be heard, because all voices and all votes count. God bless everyone. Thank you.
We are so grateful again. And again, as Kim has said, from the core team, myself, please vote. Don't become complacent. Don't sit back and talk about, oh, my vote doesn't count. If there's ever been a time that your vote has counted and needs to be counted, this is that time. Democracy is hanging in the balance. Freedoms and opportunities are hanging in the balance, and we just might lose something because you did not vote. So make sure you tell your friends, your relatives, let's do this thing together. Take 3 people with you to the polls. Do what you need to do. Make sure it comes to pass. I'm going to be reaching out to some more pastors because we need some more chaplains to be at the Board of Elections, and I'll get those time slots that are available, and we'll make sure that we plug that in. So please, ma'am, please, sir, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing this evening with us. Our prayer is that God will bless you and keep you. Souls to the polls, okay, is Sunday. So we want to make sure that we get out here and we pack the place out. That is so, so, so important. I'm going to close out in a word of prayer, and then we'll let you go. Our Father and our God, we thank you so much for what our core team has done and the work that they have put into this, and how they have brought us together, independents, Republicans, Democrats, so that we can hear what we aspire for, the things that we believe in, and how we can make not only the city of Youngstown, the state of Ohio, but the nation a better place as well. So keep us in your care and bless us. And Lord, when we get a little lazy, put a little fire under us so that we can get out and vote. In Jesus' name we pray and thank you. Amen. The Black Voters Matter bus tour is going to take place on Wednesday, the 2nd. And then there's going to be a rally at 5 p.m. at the New Bethel Baptist Church. They got T-shirts and food. Now, don't just show up for the T-shirts and the food. Show up because your vote matters. And then get the T-shirt and the food, okay? You do that, and let's see what what the Lord does. All right, y'all be blessed. Kim, hang in there for a minute, and y'all have a blessed day.